I want to set the scene for you. Picture a spectacle that takes place once a week, twice a week, where millions, hundreds of millions, billions at some times look forward to watching this one spectacle on the weekend. They spend their whole week preparing for this. Some people are even able to go to the place. They go to this physical place. It's a building or a stadium filled with 100,000 people. And they're all there collectively to watch and support a specific set of people. These people are set in the middle. They're playing on a field. They're playing on a court. And there's hundreds of thousands of people surrounding them, all paying their attention to them and what they're doing. And to extend it further, on television, it's broadcasted to hundreds of millions and billions of people. And whatever happens in this game will determine the mood of these people who are watching the spectacle for the next week or so. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. People have created careers just talking about this. There are people with YouTube channels online just talking about this. There are people who wake up nervous, like physically nervous. It's so palpable that they can't contain it. They're nervous over what's going to happen at the spectacle. If their team wins, they're going to be over the moon. There's going to be parties thrown. If they lose, it's going to be devastating. They're going to wake up the next morning with a pit in their stomach. People prep, they dress up for this kind of thing. You see face paint and all of this. You have people with other people's names on the back of their shirt, and they're repping it. And you even get these cults that form within the spectacle, where there are people who support certain teams, certain players to the death. No matter what they do, this person can never do wrong in their eyes. Now, I was very clearly speaking about sports, but when I said it that way, doesn't it seem a lot like idol worship? I mean, you see this around the world in general. It doesn't just apply to football, right? Which is what I was kind of alluding to that's my favorite sport, football. But you can extend it to every other sport, right? It's crazy. And I was watching this video on YouTube. It was this 3-hour video about how sports and religion like very similar, and they set the scene kind of like how I did it there, but they did it in a much better way where you could actually draw parallels. But it was crazy. It was crazy to see the parallels. Like, there was these pictures of people, right? People who go crazy, like they go wild, right? They set the scene for the religion, right? Imagine you go to this foreign land and there are all these people who you've never seen anything like this. They're so passionate. They do all these dances, they dress up, they put on this crazy paint on their face, and they go wild. And then they drew the parallels to sports, and it was kind of similar. It was literally the same thing, right? You go to this place and there's these people who just go crazy. They dress up in these weird ways, and they just in these extravagant ways, and they're so passionate, and there's just such an uproar. Like, it's just such a collective passion that it's like something you've never seen before. And then they drew the parallels, and I was like, that is insane. And I want to speak about my own experience with sport, because I love sport, and I can understand why people do love sport, why men in particular, why we love sport, because it brings out like the drive that we most have, that's related to our testosterone, right? It is the most competitive. It's the place where competition gets to take place at the highest level, and you really get to see guys battle it out. And whoever gets to win, gets the bragging rights, and it's just ingrained in who we are as men. Like, we really love competition. So I understand why we love it so much, and I love it. But that line gets blurred between something you just really like and it becoming an idol, like something you actually worship. And going back to like my experience, I got to a point where, as I said, I'm a big football fan, and I support Man United. I got to a point where I was watching. I remember 2020 lockdown, right? There was lockdown, sports were cancelled, and then there was a point where they were coming back and they were playing in like empty stadiums. I remember, dude, at that point, I'd look so forward to it. I remember there was a day we had like a Wed Wednesday game, right? And we were in an intense like top 4 race to go play in the Champions League, and every match was massive. Like, it was massive for us to win. Like, you'd wake up and you'd be hearing, what's happening with the news. Is somebody injured, or do we have our full team? And when we do have our full team, it's like, okay, cool, let's go, we're gonna beat them. And then when you're watching it, your heart is racing, dude. I would wake up. I remember that Wednesday, dude. I woke up in the morning. The first thing I thought about was, we're playing tonight. And I was nervous, dude. I was nervous. Like, I went onto my phone and I'd watch. And there's this guy called Mark Goldbridge. He's like it's a fan channel, right? Like, picture someone who has a YouTube channel and they do like live streams. They do live streams when they're watching the game, and they provide commentary. They bring you like the news and their thoughts on it. Like, it's a whole thing. And this guy is like, he's big. And as I was saying like earlier on about people who make YouTube channels about this, they're people who've made careers just speaking about sports. Like, that's how big it is. People who make careers debating about sports. People get so heated. Like, I'm just thinking about, like, what's his name? Stephen A. Smith, the guy in America who commentates on like basketball and American football, I think, as well. I'm just picturing like the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate. Like, who's the GOAT, right? You get people getting heated, bro. Like, they get heated. Like, friendships get ruined over that kind of stuff. And you just think to yourself, what on earth, right? But I remember I woke up that Wednesday so excited, and like, dude, like my heart was literally racing. Like, I'd wake up and I'm like, dude, something crazy is happening tonight. I'm so excited, right? You never feel anything like it. Like, I could not imagine just how excited I was for it. And like I said, you'd sit and you'd watch like the injury news. Do we have all our players? Is someone injured? If someone is injured, you're a bit worried. You're like, ish. But if they're not, like, either way, you'd be excited for the game, and then the game would come, bro. Like, you would, dude, like the nerves. I'm sure if you're anyone who's ever like been that deep into sports, you understand what I mean. And if we score, I'm like jumping up everywhere. I'm like, dude, I'm like so excited. I'm celebrating in my room, jumping around as if I'm the one who scored the goal. And it's just so excited. And then when you concede, it's like, oh crap, that's devastating. And I remember we dropped points that day. I think we were playing Southampton and we drew like 2-2. We dropped points and it was like devastating. Like, I woke up the next day, bro. I woke up the next day and I felt down. Like, I felt really down, like bad. And you think to yourself, what on earth? It's literally just 22 men playing on a field chasing a football around. And you take it further to just the way it looks, bro. You've got like a stadium of like, well, Man United have, how big is the stadium? Like 74k, I actually forgot. But it's like that. It's like you got like 80,000 people in a stadium going in to watch 22 men like kind of just chase a ball around. And they're chanting, they're encouraging them. And if someone makes a mistake, everyone goes, oh, or whatever it is. And if they concede, the whole stadium goes silent. If you score, everyone is jubilant. It's like your whole mood is dependent on these people, And you've got people wearing, because the players wear shirts and they've got their names on the back of their shirt, right? To be like, oh, I'm this player, right? You've got people buying those shirts and wearing them. You've got grown men wearing other grown men's shirts with names on them. I'm flabbergasted at like just how weird this is. And I think some of us kind of notice it, but the vast majority of the world doesn't notice it. And there are a lot of people like me. I haven't seen too much of the American football culture, but I've heard, like, from what I've seen online, from like you watch like TV shows or you just hear just stories and stuff. It's pretty bad also when it comes to like football, right? You hear those people who are like those country guys who are like, God, family football. It's like, dude, like, football is literally in the same category as God and your family. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's that big. And again, I picture just these guys, these dads who look forward to Sunday because it's Sunday football. Like, this is the big thing of the week, kind of like how I look forward to European football, like how I look forward to that. Like, they look forward to that, and they look forward to it more than they would look forward to like church. Like, you hear those kind of stories. And I was thinking about like myself. I eventually got out of that kind of craze about football because, dude, it got so bad. Like, I was playing this thing called fantasy football. You might have heard about it if you're like from America, for example. But even like Premier League, this fantasy Premier League, and you get to pick your players who you think you're gonna do well, and you get points and stuff. Like, I was so obsessed with it. Again, I was watching videos on the best players to pick. What your strategy should be, dude. I found myself flipping Leeds versus Aston Villa, bro, because I had like one of their players in my team, and it was that crazy. I was following every game. And eventually I got out of that. I remember it was like 2022. I got to a point where I was in my third year of university. I was doing accounting, and I was like, dude, okay, this year is getting crazy in terms of studies, and I was also on like self improvement, so I was working hard on like my body and just doing like the good self improvement habits. I was also creating content. It got to a point where it was like, bro, like something's got to give here. I was also like training to like play football because I wanted to become like a professional footballer. I wanted to get as good as I could and get a shot at that. And at some point, I got to a point where I was like, no, something's got to give. I don't have time to do all of this. So I realized I was like, let me cut out the football. And also with watching football, I got to a point where it was like, it helped that Man United were just terrible. We're like, genuinely, we've been terrible. So I was kind of like, dude, there's no point. Like, I'm taking up 2 hours of like my Saturday or my Sunday and staying up late at night during the week to watch my team play, and we're losing as well. Like, there's no return on investment here. I was like, nah, I've got to grow. I've got to grow up, like quite literally. I've got things to do in my life. I had to drop this, and I did drop it. But I was just thinking about it recently. I thought about this a couple days ago. What I would give to be as passionate about God as I was about like Man United, oh, quite honestly, it's insane. And I don't think for most people, like they're as passionate about God as they are about football or as they are about just sports in general. Like the amount of like, dude, when I'm telling you that I would wake up I'd go to sleep the night before really excited about this game coming up tomorrow. Imagine going to sleep being that excited about church, right? Or a football game. Like if you've ever watched like an intense football game on like a team that you support. In South Africa, we have our sport that we really love apart from football is rugby, and we had the Rugby World Cup last year. And again, you'd get people like this again, like stressed out, like we're gonna lose, or stressed out about what's happening. And it's like, imagine if you had like just a fraction of that passion for God. And right now, I'm in a place where I'm really trying to get closer. I am getting closer with God. I'm searching for Him, right? But even now, like I don't want to say I don't think I'll ever get to like a point like that, but if I ever get to a point where I'm that passionate about God, and I think for most people, I don't even think, dude, like pastors, people who really have a really close relationship with God get to that level of passion for God that people have for sports. Think of David. I think of King David in the Old Testament. Like you see the letters he was writing in Psalms, like that level of passion for God. Like David, literally described as a man after God's own heart. That man loved God. And it's like, I think that level of passion that David had for God can be matched with the level of passion men have for football nowadays. And that is not right. It is not right. And obviously, if you're somebody who's secular, you don't really care. But genuinely, if you're somebody who's trying to get closer with God, you got to look at that and be like, damn. Because I looked at it a couple days ago, I was like, if I could get just a fraction of that passion, if I could ever get near that level that I was passionate for Man United and be that level of passionate for God, oh my goodness, like I'd kill for that, dude. What I would do to have that, bro, is insane. But it's just crazy. It really is. And obviously, you know, as Christians, we kind of know that, you know, having that level of like idolization for sports is not good, because we're not supposed to idolize anything. It's one of the 10 commandments: don't have any other idols besides me. And if you've been walking with God and you've just been in the Christian sphere, can I call it that? No, I don't know if I can call it the Christian sphere. But yeah, if you've been in the church sphere, let's call it that. If you've been trying to get closer with God, and you spend a lot of time just listening to like sermons or whatever it is about God, you would know that it's not, idols extend to more than just, you know, like, oh, like the people worshipping Baal, you know, like a golden calf. I know I said it in an American accent. The golden calf or whatever. It's more than just like a physical like golden statue that people are worshipping. Like nowadays we have idols that extend to more than that. We've made episodes on like music before. I'm talking about sports now. There's so many things that we have that we idolize. And to put it simply, all an idol is something that you put above God. Picture yourself in that moment. I gave kind of a brief example of like how if I was that passionate about God as I was about our football, like, dude, life would change. But think about like those dads that I kind of gave an example of. There's dads who love like American football, right? And they look forward to like Sunday because it's football. Can you imagine like if you had to ask them to go to church instead of go watch the game, like what they would say, right? Or okay, that's putting, obviously you understand God's supposed to be number one, but you know those guys say God, family, football. Like genuinely, if they were put in a position where they had to choose either like football or go spend time with their family, I think they'd probably choose football, right? And again, similarly, like I would have gotten, when I was in that point where I was that passionate about football, I genuinely think, now luckily never got to that point where I had to choose between like church and football. But if I had to choose, bro, low key, if I had it my way, like obviously I was still living with my parents and stuff, so I probably would have just ended up going to church. I can't just be like, oh, I can't go because I want to watch football. But if I was living like the way I'm living now, like I'm living myself, and there was football and there was church, genuinely I would have stayed to watch football, because you know it's like football, dude, I've been looking forward to this month the whole day. I can go watch like a sermon online afterwards or something, you know. It was kind of like that. And when you do that, that's idolization. All an idol is it's something you put above God, something you prioritize above God. And obviously we've got these kind of basic, well, not basic examples, but these main examples we speak about with like music and sports. But you can also idolize like relationships. You can idolize your kids. You can idolize, you know, all these kids, things that are meant to be good. Like sports, again, in general, it can be enjoyed. Well, like it's something that was created. Yeah, it was created by God. You could say, yeah, everything. Yeah, the ability to play sports, it was given to us by God, and I don't think He would be like, oh no, I don't want you to enjoy sports. But again, you can turn things good, things that have been given to you by God, and make them idols, right? That was the lesson in God asking Abraham to go sacrifice Isaac. It was like, I've given you this, your son that you waited so long for, and you've been faithful, but I just want to check, you know, that your heart is in the right place and you're not putting your boy above me, right? And again, in that situation, I've said myself, you know, if I was asked at that time, like, to do that, I would struggle with that, bro. Like, genuinely, I would struggle with it. Obviously, like, as I keep learning and reiterating the story, I'm understanding more and more. Other than the fact that, you know, God at the end was like, no, don't kill him or whatever. Even if you did have to kill him, it was like, as I'm learning more, I'm like, okay, cool, you would have to sacrifice him, because, dude, you cannot put your gift above your giver, above the giver of the gift. But genuinely, I think most of us would struggle with that, because it's a really hard thing. And that's how we start to create idols, and we watch out for those kinds of things. But yeah, that was my little rant. I'm gonna call that a rant on sports and idolization. But you guys, let me know what you think of the topic in the comment section below. This is quite an interesting one. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to join the community. And until next time, see you guys.